Um, it's the same thing that I'm going to be teaching this Friday is get yourself a CRM. You don't need to have a million people to come into your business to be successful. You just need a small sphere of influence, maybe 200 people in your pipeline, 250 people in your pipeline, and serve them very well. The more people you serve and help to become better, they're going to want to do business with you. They're going to want to spread your business around. And so, that's what it comes down to is you just take care of those 250 people who are in your sphere of influence. Have a CRM and just talk to them and have those touch points. You don't even have to sell. You just have to be a human being with them. That's it. Just be a human being, talk to them, help them out, and you will see your business grow and do very well, in my opinion.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7 and 8 figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Nav Gupta. And Nav was always a studious kid, grew up in the rougher part of town in Canada, went to college, dropped out, went back to college and got a computer science degree. And then after school, went to work for IBM. Got tired of working for C&D students and quote unquote, and were school smart, but maybe not business smart. Started doing a few side gigs, developing apps. Also did some IT gigs. Built up a clientele. Did a lot of different gigs, and then started the current business, which he'll share a bit more about that as well. So, with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast now.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much for having me today, and excited to be here.
Absolutely excited to have you on. So I just gave a very condensed version to a much longer journey. So why don't we rewind and unpack that a bit and tell us a little bit about growing up being a studious kid in the rougher part of town in Canada.
Yeah, so I wasn't born with a silver spoon. My parents were immigrants. They came in. We lived in a neighborhood here called Jane and Finch, which is actually known as a rough part. In apartment buildings. Everyone generally wants to leave those parts. I think I was about 7, 8 years old or something like that when we finally left those areas, and it was okay. It wasn't as bad. The point was, we weren't born with everything. We didn't just, I didn't just get everything handed to me sort of thing. I had to grind. And, growing up, it was always, study, 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 work hard, and don't make mistakes. This was the challenge, growing up in high school is just, you're not supposed to make mistakes, right? And it's actually counterintuitive because I would see all the, kids who were making mistakes and everyone was like, oh my gosh, they're never going to amount to anything. Fast forward when I actually leave, school and, well, high school anyways, and I go into university and I'm sitting down there. And as I'm getting jobs along the way, I'm noticing that the people that I'm working for, they have less skills, less knowledge, less capabilities than me. And, I was growing up, I was thought, oh my gosh, you have to be like at these top levels. And so I assumed that the people that I was going to work for or work with were probably going to be better than me. That I would never actually, have that level. Like the people who I was under were going to be so much more powerful. And yet it turned out that what they had as their gifts and their skills. And, it wasn't that, you have to actually be at these smart levels or be so studious. It is resourcefulness. It is being able to, go out there and shake hands. It is interacting with people, which is unfortunately something that was not taught to me in school. It was more, be this introvert, just study and be in your books and you're going to do well. You're going to magically get, a great job. And that's how life works, and you get a house, you have kids and you die. It's just like that was the thing. And when I went out into the world, though, it was like, it is very different. And in fact, the ones who did the C's, D's, and F's, at times, or they were just barely passing, the skills that they got was resourcefulness. That you don't need to have everything. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to be the Google. You need to know how to apply the information that you have very well to get the results that you need. And that was something that I had to learn along the way because growing up, I was trained, well, You have to learn everything on the subject that you're about to go into, every little nook and cranny and detail before you even attempt. And that's a very theoretical thing. That's something that is taught in theory, but at the end of the day, it wasn't paying my bills,
So let me
unfortunately. And
maybe
so,
just
yeah,
rewind and just jump in, because one of the things I also thought was interesting, I know it goes a little bit back into your journey, was so you went out, started out in college. I think you ended up, taking a break, dropping out, whatever you want to call it. And then you
that's
went
right.
back and got computer science. So what kind, or how did that go, or what made you kind of leave and then come back and get the degree?
Well, my dad is an engineer. He's got, 2 degrees. Bless you, by the way. He's got about 2 different degrees. One from India and then one here in Canada. I went to the same university as Elon Musk did here in Queen's University here. So it was actually pretty cool. And so it was just like it was all about being an engineer. Like, oh, okay, go and be an engineer. You shouldn't do anything else. And so uh, I went into this program where I'm sitting there learning about an atom. Okay. And I'm like, here's my friend who knows computers and we do websites. And he just hit a $1.3 million contract coming out of high school. And I'm sitting down in university learning about an atom.
Hmm.
What am I doing in my life? You know, and this is where that moment came. My parents were they were shattered because in the Eastern culture you don't drop out. That doesn't exist. You can have a lot of money, it doesn't matter, but every person generally needs to have a degree. And so this is just part of the cultural norm. So it was like me getting out of university and not getting a degree was very taboo. It was like he's an idiot. That's it. That was how I was labeled. And it came down to the point where I was like, I don't want to do that. Like if I am going to be miserable my whole life, what's the point in earning this money? What is the point of this journey if the whole point is be miserable, right? So for
Hmm.
me, over the years, I've nearly died several times, and coming back from things like that, and panic and anxiety. This is mental health is a very important thing. I've come to learn in my life that you need to focus on the joy. You need to focus on, these years that you're here. You think you've got a lot of time, but our time is limited here. Why did you come to this world? And what do you plan to leave behind when you're gone?
Mhm.
And with Tim Ferriss, so much so he says that over 500 years after you're gone, will people remember you even walk this planet? And so these are the sorts of things that I think about. And I'm like, you know what? I want to have a great time here. My time here is valuable and I want to have fun. I want to be happy and joyous. And so now, going through that, I've learned along the way that if I don't focus on my joy, no one else is. No one really cares whether I'm happy or not. And they'll never be happy. And the easiest way to be miserable is try to please everybody and make them all happy because they're still going to be miserable because you never hit their dreams and goals because
Mhm.
it's theirs, right? And this is the other thing I had to learn along the way is my dreams and goals are mine, and I have to work hard for them if I want to have them.
No, makes perfect sense, and I couldn't agree more. So now, so you went to school, took a break, dropped out, whatever you want to call it, and then
Yeah,
or
I
what
was
and
at
then what
McMaster University, by the way, when I did that.
and what made you decide to go back? Because it makes sense, why you're saying that. Hey, I'm gonna or not or maybe not continue to pursue the degree if it doesn't make sense. But what was the motivation that to go back and to finish it up?
Well, computer science was the degree I was getting. So imagine the first time I went, I applied to all 15, 16 different universities, got scholarships and everything, all kinds of great stuff. Everyone was willing to pay for everything. And then the second time around, it was like I was lucky if I even got into one. And that was actually Ryerson University, now called Toronto Metropolitan University. They accepted me. And so it was in computer science. I went to Toronto, fell in love with Toronto. That's my home for a long time. And the whole point was you still needed to have something to get access. And so the degree was more about access. It wasn't about the knowledge or skills. I mean, there was some knowledge or skills that I learned along the way, but I've been coding since I was 10. So for me, it was like, I'm just going there for the paper. And that's what it was. I went and I got the paper. I also worked at IBM along the way. And this is where I got to really see the other side of things, where, I would go morning till night. I'd leave at 6 in the morning, arrive at work, stay there till 6 p.m. at night, and another 1 hour back, 2 hours back. After the tolls and everything was done, I was making about 40K at the time. That's what they were, giving me. And after everything was done, about $1,500 in my pocket, just so that my family could say my son works at IBM.
Mm.
That was a challenge for me because I could have made more money flipping burgers, to be honest, right? And I have flipped burgers. I used to work at Mickey D's, very proudly. That was part of the journey, along the way. But the point is that, you go and you spend all your time getting education. You go and spend your time in these higher methods. And I asked myself, like, if I was just going to come back to just flipping burgers, what's the point of all this education, right? And then, when going back to the whole, when I sat down and looked at some of the managers and some of the millionaires and the people who are making success, they had less education than me. They had less resources than me. They had, less time than me. And they were able to hit this off. And I said, I can code you incredible code. I could do rocket science if you needed me to do those calculations. I got to be able to figure out this money stuff. I got to be able to figure out this success stuff. And that's when my journey on success and motivation and reading over, well over 200 books on the topic of success, motivation, investing, and all that, brought me to getting my real estate license. I got my bodybuilding license. I started, running different companies and businesses. And I got out of the whole, working for employers, though I did along the way. Just, sometimes you have to do that. And I worked at startups. So I targeted how I actually went into companies. So it was like, can I learn something that will help me in my future business? It was never, I was going to stay there forever. It was more like, I'm going to learn a few techniques that I don't know yet, make some connections that I didn't know about, and then use that in my future businesses.
So now, no, and that makes sense. And so now maybe just continuing on a bit. So when worked for others for a period of time, said, hey, I would rather spend my time figuring this out, how I can, make the money, grow the business, do it on my own, as opposed to working for other people, which makes sense.
That's right.
And so, you did a few side gigs along the way. It sounds like you got into real estate. And I think we also talked about, you did some app development and started to, do some IT gigs, and along the way started to build up the clientele. So did you kind of, sounds like, maybe putting words in your mouth, but correct me where I'm wrong, that you did the side gig, started to build up the clientele before you decided to kind of go out on your own, or kind of help us understand that transition of working for others to starting your own thing?
Well, it was, over time, I was always entrepreneurial, right? Since I was young, when it came to those earlier lessons, right? My first book that I read that actually got me, kickstarted was Think and Grow Rich. And, Tony Robbins, just, being in that mode of like taking those risks. And so, I've had eBay businesses, I've had Kijiji businesses, I've had, clothing stores, dollar stores, computer stores. Like I've had that over the years trying to figure this all out. And so what ended up happening was, one of the startups that I was working at, learning about the startup culture, they let me go. And we had a difference of culture, if that makes sense. And so I'm not talking about like, my physical culture sort of thing, but like the corporate culture, if that makes sense. They wanted me to grind till I'm dead, like that. And that was the time, like, there's times where startups require that. And I understand that. And for me, I was about more of the Google culture, like, hey, let's have some fun. Let's have that balanced life, experience, and, really build something great. In any case, what ended up happening was I was now on welfare, laid off, and I had to start looking. And I applied to Facebook. I applied to several other places. And then Unity said, you know what? We've got a program here where you could be a contractor. It's called Unity Live Help. We have not built it up. We're expecting, we've gone around to the top developers, and you're amongst the people on the list, on the short list. We'd like to interview you. And boom, they interviewed me. And the first 10 months, no business, no nothing. We're building it from scratch. And I sat down, and, when it comes to developers, a lot of developers, I mean, they can code you stuff, but the sales and the marketing and all those skills, thank God, I thank God every day, because that's why I'm alive today. But I picked up all those skills from all these business lessons, and, doing all these side gigs and all these other things. I was able to bring that to the table, and, learning how to have a CRM, learning my, who's my target market, learning what I'm able to bring to the table, and making sure that I serve my sphere of influence very well. You don't need to have so many people. And when I learned that, I went from, hey, you know what, here's free hourly, to $30 US an hour, to $50 US an hour, all the way up to, when I left Unity Live Help last year, I was at 500 US an hour. And even till now, people come to me for 300 to 500 US an hour. and they just want more because that's the level of skills that I was able to build up with business today.
No, makes sense. Now you do all of that, and then maybe bring it to where you're a bit at today, or a bit full circle. So and full disclosure, so Nav is a client of Miller IP Law, and happy to have him. But one of the things that we were working on we're helping on the IP side, but you're also working on is with the augmented reality, virtual reality area of doing kind of the metaverse and all of those things, and you can explain it a lot better than I would. But give us an idea, how did you get started in that area? And because it sounds like you're in IT and app development and did a little bit of real estate, but how did you make the jump to the current business that you're doing?
So great question. Thank you for that. So, Steve Jobs said it great. You can't connect the dots going forward. You can only connect them backwards. I didn't know why, and I truly believe in God. Like there's something out there that's watching over us. Why did I learn real estate? Why did I learn my Mandarin? I could speak several languages. Mandarin is one of my favorites. Why did I actually start learning about bodybuilding and health? Why did I go into a startup? And it just so happened that last year, or the year before that, Mark Zuckerberg went all in on the metaverse. The metaverse was a big thing, but the metaverse takes its stems from video games. And growing up, even I was in the video game industry for a long time, right? That's what I was doing, and people thought I was crazy. And to create video games is not easy. It takes a lot of work, and the type of video game that this was, the metaverse itself, was not just any video game. This is one of the most challenging video games to ever make, known as an MMORPG, or a massively multiplayer online role-playing game. All right, that's what this is. Many developers who are starting in-game development, they just shudder away from it because of the complexity, the sheer complexity of building this thing. And so a lot of people were coming into this, and I was working, at Unity as a live help expert, contracting, and it was like I was seeing these presentation decks coming in saying, we're going to build a metaverse, and we're going to be able to do what they did in World of Warcraft for far faster and better than they can, with higher level graphics than than PlayStation 5. All you have to do is pay me money for my magical land. And I was like, who's going to fall for this? And it broke my heart to see not just a couple of thousand, but hundreds of millions of dollars going into some of these projects. And mind you, there were some that actually were good, and today there are some that actually did well, but for the most part, a lot of them were scamming. And it was a challenge. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I just build something which takes, the years of experience that I've got, and make something like WordPress, where it's easy to use. You don't need to know the years of development. Just click and drag some objects, using a web browser, and a full experience happens with no programming. And that is what Charmy Worlds is. It is a web-based, no-code metaverse solution that gets you up and running. It works on the web, on PC, Mac, and even in Oculus Quest and VR. And later on, we're going to be getting into augmented reality. And just recently, we started getting into ChatGPT with AI and integrating that into Charmy, where you can actually now just type in what kind of world you'd like to see, and it'll start building the skybox early. So these are the sorts of things that we're now implementing and bringing this to the forefront. So, I truly believe that these metaverse experiences and galaxies are the websites of the future, the 3D internet, if you will. So
makes sense. So now you've got, or jumped into it, got into being part of the 3D internet, so to speak. So now give us an idea, where is Charmy today? How are things going? How long has it been or has it been a company, and all of those good things?
Absolutely. So for about a year and a half, almost about a year, I'd say, Charmy has been in business. And I started it last year, and really getting it to a point where today the technology, it's still early, but it can actually do a lot of those basic things. You can actually go into a web experience, just like WordPress. You can actually add in plots of land, and you can actually create whatever you like, and people can come in and they can meet with you. They can talk to you. That virtual experience is there. And now we're going to be starting adding in the blockchain elements, such as MetaMask, in these next editions. And, over these next years, you're going to start seeing more and more use cases of this stuff, where people are going to be using the metaverse for all kinds of things, from shopping to education to, just going out to do work, right? And to give you an idea of how big this is, everyone, is looking at Roblox, because they've got hundreds of millions of users who are young. They're I'd say about 13 to 17 years old, and some are younger. But in the next 10 to 15 years, they are going to be the adults. and they already know this technology. And we take for granted today that, for example, you know a QWERTY keyboard and you know how to type and use a mouse. Back in the 90s, we had a similar situation where people didn't know how, have to know how to use a mouse or keyboard, but we had training programs. We're going to need that again to start teaching people how to use the metaverse, how to enter these game worlds or these virtual worlds. And later on, as Apple and these other companies start releasing their augmented reality glasses, you're going to have a secondary layer of 3D holographics coming into our physical world as well. And so, these are the future steps that are going to be happening.
No, sounds like it's an exciting place to be, and it sounds like you guys are getting in on the ground floor and building something exciting. So that's awesome. So, yeah. Well, now as we've kind of reached the present day of your journey a bit, always a great time to transition to the two questions I always ask at the end of each episode. So we'll jump to those now. So the first question I always ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made, and what'd you learn from it?
Yeah. Oh man, there's so many. There's so many. I would say, relying on people too fast, too early. As we rush to try and, automate things, no one is going to care about your business more than you. And that is, the learning that I had is, you could find a great developer, you could find a great person who knows how to do what you do. But then the challenge is are they going to undercut me? Are they going to take all my clients? Because now they're the ones who are in the front lines. They're the ones who are front facing. You need people that you could trust, and you need to have, agreements in place that they can't just steal your customers or your clients that you've worked hard in building. So these are the sorts of lessons that I've had. And, I've had my businesses before taken from me because, I trusted someone. Some of them were very close connections that I would never guess would ever do that. It could be a friend, a family member. It could be someone that that you have built a business relationship with over the years, but you don't know people's intentions. So always have legal there. And it's great that we're actually talking with you, Devin, you're a lawyer, but like, you always want to have these legal agreements there, because when money hits the table, a lot of relationships are put secondary to that. And, as much as I would love to tell you that, the reality is everyone is kumbaya and we're all friends and, it'll always work. When I've noticed in my experience in my life that when money does hit the table, it does become dicey. And, a lot of the relationships that you value, sometimes, money takes over. And at those times, it's always good to have clarity. So if you have clarity up front, before you go into these business relationships, it doesn't matter if it's your friend, your best friend, even a family member. When you do that up front, it's clear. These are the things that we have agreed to. This is what we're going to do. And I mean, even marriages are like that. This is why we have so many divorce laws and things inside of there, because, the connection can be close, but that doesn't guarantee that when things start growing, that you're going to be protected or safe and all that stuff. So that's what I would say is the lesson that I learned along the way is, as much as you try, keep trying. Of course, you want everything to work out well, but please, please, please have something in place in writing that, has clarity.
No, I think that definitely makes sense. I think a lot of times we're used to kind of just trusting and just almost a handshake with the people we work with. And, it's probably a bit of human nature, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I do think, providing, that clarity on the front, and even if everybody is working and trying to do everything honest and trying to do everything forthright, and it's just to have that clarity of what is everybody agreeing to? What are you, what is everybody willing to do? And what does that look like? Having that on the front end can avoid a lot of issues on the back end. So I think that's a great takeaway. Absolutely. Second question that now I ask is, if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
It's the same thing that I'm going to be teaching this Friday is get yourself a CRM. You don't need to have 1 million people to come into your business to be successful. You just need a small sphere of influence, maybe 200 people in your pipeline, 250 people in your pipeline, and serve them very well. The more people you serve and help to become better, they're going to want to do business with you. They're going to want to spread your business around. And so, that's what it comes down to is you just take care of those 250 people who are in your sphere of influence, have a CRM and just talk to them and have those touch points. You don't even have to sell. You just have to be a human being with them. That's it. Just be a human being, talk to them, help them out, and you will see your business grow and do very well, in my opinion.
Awesome. I think that's a great takeaway and a great piece of advice. So, well, as we now wrap up the episode, if people want to be or reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Absolutely. Please visit charmi.com. That's CHAARMI.com. And you can check out the technology there. You can connect to us. And yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you come in as a customer or even just ask questions. We're always happy to answer questions about the metaverse. It's a new area, and we hope we can actually serve you and do our best to help you out.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to check out Charmi. And if nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank you again, Nav, for coming on the podcast. It's been a fun, it's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you, the listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be on the show. A couple more things as listeners, make sure to click share, subscribe, and leave us a review. So help us to share these journeys with even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And on that note, if you ever need help with your patents, your trademarks, or anything else along your journey, feel free to reach out to us and go to strategymeeting.com to grab some time with us to chat. We're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Nav, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you so much. Thank you.